In order to make this taco cupcake, or taco candy, I'm not sure what we're going to call it, because it has cake inside of it, but it's not really a cupcake. Not really. So, first thing you're going to do is print out or draw approximately a 5 by 8 inch oval shape. Now all I did is I went online and I Googled, or I did a search for printable oval shapes. And there you go, just like that. I ended up finding an oval just about the right size. Very easy to find, or you can just draw your own. And then you're going to need some black sugar. Now, the black sugar, I can find it at my local bulk food store that sells all sorts of colors of sugar. I didn't have black though, so what I did is I just took a Ziploc bag, I put some white crystal, this is the kind of coarse white sugar, and I just put a little bit of black food coloring, paste food coloring in a Ziploc bag and mushed it around, and I ended up with some black sugar. Worked out perfectly. So you're going to sprinkle a little bit on the oval, because you want this to look like a tortilla shell. Then you need candy melts, or candy melting wafers. You can buy these at craft stores, or if you do a search online, they come by the brand name Wilton and also Merckens. There might be others as well. You're going to put those in a Ziploc bag, and you're going to melt them in the microwave at 50% power for a couple of minutes. I reinforced the corner of the Ziploc bag with some sticky tape. Just a couple layers of sticky tape, and I've cut the corner off. So what we're going to do is we're just going to first outline the circle. I should say we should outline the oval. And outline. Doesn't have to be perfect. And then we're going to fill in the center, right over top of the colored sugar. The colored sugar is going to give you those little flecks that you see in a taco shell, in a tortilla shell, corn tortilla. So we'll just fill it in a bit. And then we're just going to give it a shake. Tapping works too. And then, if there's any places where there's little holes, we're just going to take a spatula and just spread it around. Or you can take a little bit more and just fill in the space anywhere it looks thin. I'm just going to even off the edge here a little bit. Now I put some wax paper over top of the oval. I can't remember if I mentioned that. But this wax paper is nice because the candy melting wafers will not stick to it when they're cold. Cool. Now we have to wait until the candy melting wafers lose their shine and they start to get dull. It starts to get dull a little bit. So we're going to keep an eye on that, and we're going to see how long that takes. Okay, while we're waiting for that to cool a little bit, and you can see a couple places, I don't know if you can see it on camera, but the surface is starting to look a little bit dull, which means it's solidifying. Now, what we want to do is, we want to fold this in half while this is still moldable, but set just a tiny bit. And what we're going to do is we're going to take some cupcake pieces. I've just sliced some cupcakes into slices, and we're going to put them on half of it, and then we're going to pick up this wax paper and we're going to fold it over, and we'll see if that works. The recipe says 5 minutes, so we're going to see. Just testing here. It is getting a little bit solid. What you want is when you pick it up to fold it over, you don't want it to drip downwards, right? You want it solid but not too solid. I think that's going to take a little bit of practice. So let's see how that goes. It's starting to get dull all over. No, it's hard to tell, but it is Well, here's an example. Here along the edge, you see how it's kind of dullish here? And it's shiny here? Well, that's what you're looking for. And it's been about 5 minutes, so I think we should give this a try. Now you're going to take your little cupcake pieces and you're going to put them on half of it. Kind of like that, I think. You don't want to go all the way to the edge because you're going to have to want some space. And then, okay, I'm going to fold this over top of the cupcake pieces. And they're a bit too much cupcake here. Because I want the two edges to meet, so here we go, and fold. Like so. Hey, that's actually working. That is pretty cool. Okay, then we're going to put this in the refrigerator and we're going to let it finish hardening completely. See how it's folded like that? Isn't that cool? Okay, in the meantime, you're going to need some candies to make the toppings. We need lettuce, tomato, and cheese. So what I have here is some Starburst candy, and it's kind of like a chewy taffy candy. And if they're too hard to squeeze, we're going to put them in the microwave just for a few seconds to soften them up. I put it in for about 10 seconds in the microwave, just enough to soften them a bit. And then take a clean pair of scissors, and we're just going to slice some pieces of shredded cheese. And for the lettuce bits, I'm just using gumdrops. Okay. Here is the lettuce, which is gumdrops that's been flattened. And for the tomato, I'm going to use these jelly candies. And they're really sticky looking. Had them in the cupboard for a bit, and it looks like they get kind of sticky after time. So this, I'm just going to cut some chunks to make it look like diced tomato. For the actual meat in the tacos, this is just chocolate icing in a Ziploc bag. Get sticky tape on the corner to reinforce it, and a small corner cut off. You just seal up the bag, and we're just going to just squeeze it down to the end, and we're going to use this to put in the hamburger. Okay, I've let the taco chill. We're going to gently peel off the wax paper. Oh, would you look at that? Isn't that adorable? That is adorable. Seriously. Okay. Alright. And you can see the cake. I probably could use another little piece of cake here, because there's a really kind of a big open spot here. I'm going to just put a little bit of cake in there. I could have folded this maybe a little bit further so that the edges were matching, but that's okay, I think. Alright, so we're going to take some of our hamburgers, we're going to call it here. Oops. Okay, well, why don't we glue that in with a bit of icing so it doesn't fall out. Here you go. Okay. Alright, and I feel my fingers melting on this already, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to hold it with some wax paper just to keep my fingers from melting the candy melting wafers. Okay, and then we're just going to add the chocolate icing over top of the cake to make it look like it's a meat-filled taco. And then we're going to add the toppings. So you can also tint some coconut green and yellow for your lettuce and your cheese as well. That's another option. So we'll put some cheese and some lettuce. I'm just going to sprinkle this over top, like so. And do this while the icing is still wet so that everything sticks on there nicely. And you know what? Not everybody has the same things available in their country as far as candies go. So you just have to see what's available and use that. So go to the candy store and look around and try to imagine what you can do with the candies. And there's the chunks of tomato. And there we go, finished taco. I'm going to take some pictures now so you can see it up close. I found that once it had completely cooled and completely hardened, that the tortilla candy shell wasn't a problem and it didn't melt in your fingers anymore. So that shouldn't be an issue if you want to make these. So give them a try, they're a lot of fun.